So here the name of the poem is Father Returning Home. The one thing I want to say here is which means that a father is coming back to home from office or from work. This poem is written by Dilip Chitre. Okay, this poem is written by Dilip Chitre. So he was born in 1938 and he died in 2009. He was a celebrated bilingual poet. Celebrated bilingual, which means he was a very most famous bilingual poet and translator with a remarkable work in Marathi and English. So he was translating into two language, Marathi and English. Okay, Dilip Chitre is a famous bilingual poet. Between bilingual means two language, between two language, Marathi and English. He was a translator also. His versatile creativity extends to painting. His creativity, he not only is a poet, he is a good painter. Like his creativity we can see in painting, filmmaking, and his notable contribution to a magazine columnist. He is working in magazine. He writes in magazine also. He received the prestigious Sahitya Academy Award both for poetry as well as for his well-known transition work. C.S. Tuka, Popular Abhangas by Sant Tukaram. So he received awards also, like what kind of translation he made by some Sant Tukaram. And he had started translation of literary work of sons in Marathi at the age of 16. So at the age of 16 only he started translating the uh, popular popular Abhangas and literary work. Exile, alienation, self disintegration, and death are observed to be the major theme of his work. So whenever if you will read his work, we will find this terms alienation, self alienation means when you are alone. Self disintegration means you are not involving yourself with anyone, or that we can observe in his work. Now, just wait a minute, I'm coming. Okay. This poem is taken from Traveling in a Cage. So, this poem is taken from one story which is already written. It's a book, Traveling in a Cage. What we are going to read now. It draws a portrait of suburban commuter. So, when you will read this poem, it actually draws a portrait of a suburban commuter. Suburban commuter. It depicts his dull, monotonous, and existing and exhausting and equally pitiable daily routine. So when we will going to read this poem, we will going to understand it talks about a suburban people, and it depicts about that his dullness, monotonous, exhausting. Dull means like when you are totally tired. Monotonous, like same work again and again. Exhaustion means like you are totally exhausted. And equally daily routine. It describes a forced alienation at home. So while learning this poem, we are going to understand like forced alienation at home. Like a person with a daily routine, they are separated with, they are alone at home, which is reflected through the stale food and lack of sharing. So you're at home also, like alienation when the person is alone, like not talking with anyone, or even we are making the other person to be in a alienation, which is reflected to the stale food and lack of sharing, like when you are not able to share with that particular person or stale food, the problem starts. His children refuse to share their joys and sorrow. The children are not able to share with that person joy means happiness and sadness with the hard-working father, who as a result is forced to retire into solitude. So when the children are not able to talk with that father, so definitely that father will go in alienation. Just think about yourself. If no one is talking with you at home, just a formality is going on, how you will feel. And this very painful loneliness is a symbol of man isolation from the materialistic man-made world. So this is a symbol of a man's isolation from a materialistic man-made world. And this happens. So this man-made world, the materialistic man-made world, this happens. Okay, let's start the poem. The one thing is clear, Dilip Chitre, he is a translator of Marathi to Hindi, Marathi to English, and he had translated at the age of 16 of many sons, and he got award also for that. And in this poem, we are going to understand alienation, self-designation, death. And this poem is taken from Traveling in Cage, and this poem which talks about a suburban person, or specifically a father who lives in suburban, who is going in isolation mode because the children are not talking with or sharing joys and sorrow with him. Now let's start. Father returning home. My father travels on the late evening train. So a poet, here a poet himself is talking about his father. Okay, my means is the poet Dilip Chitra is talking about his father. My father travels on the late evening train, which means late evening means at just leaving from office 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. My father comes from train, and my father stand among silent commuters in the yellow line. Commuter means a passenger, a traveler who regularly travel. So my father is standing with other people in the train. Yellow light, under the yellow light. Nowadays LED lights are there, but at that time, if you see before 2009, the lights were yellow. So my father is coming a late evening from train, and he's standing among other people's. Suburb slide past his unseeing eyes. Suburb slides, which means stations are past, and he's not able to bother about that station. He's only waiting for to reach his home. So he's not looking at unseen eyes. So suburb slides are past, and he's not seeing it. His shirts and pants are soggy. So here the word soggy. Soggy means sweating. His clothes, my father's clothes, are soggy, and his black raincoat stained with mud. So first, here poet is saying, my father shirt pants are becoming sweaty, and his raincoat raincoat is stained with mud. Like there are lots of muds are there on raincoat, and his bag stuffed with books, and his bag is stuffed with books is falling apart. So bag is also stuffed with books and is falling apart. So here the poet is saying, my father is coming from late evening train. He is not looking at the slides of Saban. His clothes are soggy. His raincoat is muddy, and in his bag there are lots of books are also falling apart. We can see the picture also. We can see he is having raincoat, bag, books, right? And is falling apart. That books is so much stuffed in the bags that it could be fall at any time. His eyes dim by age. So according to the age, his eyes vision is decreasing. Fade homeward through the humid monsoon night. So he cannot able to see also in the humid monsoon night because it's a monsoon rainy season is there. He cannot able to see. Fading blur. Now I can see him getting off the train. Now I can see my father like he is getting off the train, like a word drop from a long sentence. Here the poet is trying to make us imagine that his father, because if you see in the local train in Mumbai or anywhere, many people are getting off the train. So the panorama of that situation here the poet is trying to explain us. When my father get off the train, I was looking. I can see my father, and it looks like the word is dropped from the sentence. And he hurries after getting off the train. He hurries across the length of great platform. So my father hurries across the length of the grey platform. Grey platform, which means you can see it is a color plus age, dullness. So my father is very above. Once he get off the train, he had hurries towards his home, crosses the railway line, enters the lane, and his chappals are sticky with mud, but here is onward. So immediately when my father get off the train, and he hurries towards home, and he crossed the lane, and he started walking onward. I see him drinking weak tea home again. I can see my father now. He reached to the home and he's drinking a weak tea. Weak tea means a tea which is already made before earlier. And eating a steel chapati is also the same thing. Like he is drinking a weak tea which is already made before, and steel chapati which is already made so long before. And he was reading a book. I can see my father is sitting at home in a room, and he is drinking a tea, and one and he is reading a book, and he is eating a steel chapati. Now my father goes the toilet to contemplate, thinking deeply. But now my father, after after reaching home, he had done snacks, and then after that he went to toilet and he to contemplate to think. Man's estrangement from a man-made world. So man's estrangement from a man-made world. So my father is a alienation. Okay, the immense estrangement. So he was man-made world coming out. So when he reached inside, like when he gone to toilet, he was thinking deeply, and what kind of contemplating? Some kind of unique. The humans beings thinks deeply. When they are thinking deeply, they are thinking out of this world. And when he come out from the toilet, he had trembles. He was in hurry, and he was gone for seeing, like was bathing, like he had the cold water is while he was washing his hand, the cold water is running over his brown hand. A few droplets has also cling to the graying hair on his head. So here the poet is explaining in a minutely that he said when he came out from the toilet, he went to the wash basin. He started washing his hand, and the water droplets are falling on his grey color hair. And his bad tempered children have often refuse to share joys and secrets with him. And his children are also not interested to talk with his father and not interested to share joys and sorrow with him. And he will now I can see my father is going to sleep and he was listening a static on the radio and dreaming of his ancestor and grandchildren. So my father is now going to sleep and he was listening a song on the radio and then static radio and thinking about his ancestor and grandchildren and thinking of nomads. Nomads are tribal people entering in the subcontinent through a narrow pass. So here we can see that we are done with the poem. The one thing is clear that father returning home. How the life of the father, we can see this is thus life, the daily routines the father follows and his children's, and he is doing so much hard work for his family, and even the family are not care about him. Thanks for listening me.